a lot of the stuff, they'll make available to school groups and stuff, projects to make benches. Not right. We've seen that. Chairs. All have some kinds of benches. I think that's it.
All right.
Usually when you start talking, I get reminded of stuff.
Are there any questions on the report? Actually, for volunteering at the booth and fairs, how would you like to be? What's the best way to party?
Well, I guess up front, I'll say the commercial building is open, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So the Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then on a Saturday, it's open noon to 10 p.m. So I guess, I mean, if just shoot me an email or something and let me know if you're interested and when you think you'll be available. And like I said, we've already, we already have at least one person there between us and stormwater at all times, but the more the merrier. And I'll just let whoever's, working that particular shift to know to expect you that you're coming to help out for a couple hours or whatever you can commit to.
So I had a question of curiosity. If you, I'm not sure if I caught it. Did you mention how you found Rethink Terre Haute?
Dave the Kid with the city introduced me to the Sheikah. We got connected that way and did a Zoom meeting where she walked me around and stuff. And I said, I think at least I want to come check it out. So.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you for all of that. That's very good information. And as far as report from the chair, that covers everything that I had in mind to share, which wasn't very much.
I try not to steal your thunder every time.
No, it's good. That's good. As long as everything gets covered in one of the two reports, I'm happy. One other thing that I always like to do when there are new members present is during the chair provide an opportunity for introduction. If you're interested, Matt, you're welcome to if you have anything to say.
Sure. My name is Matt Austin, born and raised here in Bloomington, left town for almost 2 decades, moved back in 2017. I support my sister and her goals. She had an urban farm. We grew 5,000-6,000 pounds of organic veggies, do a lot of different composting and on thoughts as well. I'm excited to attempt to make a difference and reduce waste and get more people to eat local, et cetera, et cetera. So appreciate all the hard work you guys have done. Hope to be able to contribute.
Thank you. You're welcome. Those who aren't familiar with PECOS is the Bloomington Commission on Sustainability. It's the city nearest equivalent of this. Yeah, thank you. That's all I had for chair content. To the end of the reports, first from special committees, for special orders. This is to our two items of business I put under unfinished business. They're carryover from our last regular meeting. First of which is finalizing the 2024 budget. If you ask Brian if you happen to be able to join the Zoom meeting, if you have the capacity to join your laptop, and you don't, that's all right.
What do you?
Okay. Over the top, and you have to sharing the from the packets, the proposed 2024 budget. I have a few minutes left that I could do it with, but I think that will probably.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Charger is a funding lots of money, so.
What do you've got 3 different documents in here related to the budget.
So it should be the 2024 proposed one. I think the other 2 documents are historical.
Yeah. No, I think it's
Begin on page 7.
yeah, I think it's and page 7 for the CAC that first page of that document is irrelevant and blank, because that's the revenues and personnel services line items.
That's true. Well, maybe let's show page 8 then. So that has our two items that should fit in the screen. Again, this is carryover from our last regular meeting, but I know there are a few members present here now who weren't present at the last meeting. So historically, we have a budget allocation of $500 annually for travel and $1,000 for training and education. That's been, I think, and definitely has been the last 3 years that I've been involved, probably for at least for a while before that as well. And the discussion just kind of centered around the fact that we can both, we both have not been proactive in using those funds in the last 3 years that I've been around, but also we do have the possibility to request other funds if there are other activities that we wanted to be involved in. We do have 2023 calendar year strategic planning as the second item on the agenda, but this would be, I guess, longer term than that if we wanted to think about anything that we wanted to use small budget for in 2024. There's a bunch of requests. Again, noting that it's at the board's decision whether that's approved or not, but we can make such requests. And a couple of the things that we had talked about at the last regular meeting were potential CAC branding things, potential apparel or something of the nature. And another thing that came to my mind since then was some funds for printing that we could potentially make flyers or something like that. And that was kind of coming off of our 2023 strategic plan in terms of what we plan on doing as an organization. And that, kind of move these things together. I'll try to focus on the 2024 budget related items, but thinking about ways in which that we can use our effort and potentially a small amount of funding and what those might be. So I think that's generally what the agenda item is for, mostly a discussion item, but we do have to approve formally what we're going to submit for our requested budget for 2024 at the meeting so that it can stay with the timeline of all the steps necessary for approving the budget process. So
Can I offer a couple of things?
please.
Okay, so 500 in travel and 1,000 in training, and that is this year's budget. You have that this year. That but you know, we identify when we make the appropriations, what they are, is money on paper right now. You know, we put them in the specific lines that we think that is appropriate, that they're going to be used for. But that doesn't mean that you're restricted to that $500 being used on travel. We can move it. We can transfer the money into other lines. The caveat there is, and this particularly when you get into talking about things like apparel and stuff. So the travel and training and education from state Board of Accounts perspective fall into a category of services and charges, meaning that you're generally reimbursing people for travel. You're paying somebody to provide training and education, whereas buying shirts would be a supply. You're buying a physical, tangible item. So in order to move money from that services category to a supply category, the board has to do that. We can move money within a category on our own, but to go from one category to the other, that takes board approval. So I just say that you know, it's not that we can't do it, you know, but if you're thinking about 2024, and you know, and again, you're not, you know, I can't promise or guarantee anything on amounts, but you're not necessarily limited to that $1,500. You can request more, but think about what you're requesting it for, and do we need to put some in a supply line versus a service line?
Thank you for that addition. Yeah, those are so important to consider when making our proposed budget. That is, if there's anything that anyone has in mind to propose for any of
Sorry, I will add one last thing too.
Yeah.
And also don't think that in every scenario, you're limited to what you request. Additional appropriations are a possibility. You just have to be able to justify to the board why we need this extra money.
Watching the May's meeting, you mentioned that a few years back, two people went to whatever convention or training in Michigan, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, the CAC, yeah.
That was that sustainability? What, do you remember any details about
I
it?
don't specifically remember what the,
I'm just asking because I attended last year the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago, specifically looking for sustainability ideas that I could bring back. Now that was on my own dime, and some people might say, well, it's the Restaurant Association show, so that doesn't really pertain, but I've got a lot of really good ideas. Is that something, or does it have to be specifically within the waste management?
no, once the, once the budget is approved and the appropriation is there, it would just be a function of a majority of this body agreeing that that's valid use of the funds, and agreeing which members get to go.
Gotcha.
And that's not to say that after the fact, somebody on the board might question somebody's rationale or decision-making, but once the funds are appropriated, then, if this body determines that this trade show, is a legitimate opportunity for us to seek out resources to learn something, then go for it.
Yeah, any general thoughts? Things on process or opportunities, ideas?
When I was looking at some line items, I was pretty much in line with you, trying to find more promotional items, trying to get more visibility. Yeah, trying to draw more people in. Adding more people, hopefully.
Oh, so more people to the.
Yeah, I don't know, I just feel like I keep meeting people, and feeling like really interested in trying to find solutions for our community. But I don't know how much they know about decisions like that. Yeah.
Where to start to actually step aside. Do it wrong, wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's fair. So, but are the funds for the table coming from this budget? Or
No, that's our,
it's like,
yeah, this is what you're looking at right there is, in essence, the CAC and the big picture for us is a department.
got it.
So that's one department's budget. We have 12 departments on paper. They don't all get a budget every year, but I think it's 12, I don't know.
From my outside point of view, it makes sense to have at least $500 for supplies. If you're thinking that that might come up and having to avoid go back to the board to spread money around.
Which it the board is not necessarily, an insurmountable or even an obstacle for that matter. It's just a time lag. I mean, they're barring something outlandish. I mean, they're not gonna deny you the opportunity to move the funds to spend them, but until you have the funds moved, and an accounting can't spend it until you have it there. But
How have you guys attracted, or how's the board attracted members previously?
word of mouth.
Okay.
It's a lot of times impromptu, but there'll regularly be things said at board meetings, if you're interested, CAC. We always have information and the CAC at the fair. We don't regularly have CAC members at the table that can talk about their experience as a member. But we always promote the CAC at the fair, and any other. The fair is the regular one that we do, but Elisa and I occasionally we're members of the Chamber of Commerce. We'll attend some chamber events, and I have suggested to people at some chamber events they can look into it. I don't think that's ever resulted in anybody ever making an inquiry, but we do where and when we can. The fair is really probably the only planned place that we go every year that we know we're going to have material that promote CAC. It's something that happens more impromptu and spontaneous on based on the circumstance that we're in.
If you thought of doing a tailgate for like homecoming, I know there's a lot of people that are from the city, if you're talking from the county, you're talking about exposure. Maybe something like that. Try.
Maybe. Open to suggestions.
Yeah.
We look at anything and everything.
Yeah, I think your suggestion is reasonable. Yeah, it's kind of tricky. It's general strategic planning in terms of thinking about what we're going to spend on, what we're discussing today, what we're going to do. So I do. In the order of the agenda, we're just discussing them in parallel. There's interest priority, which is to make sure that we approve of the proposed budget. And I do, all that to say, I do think that like a $500 materials line item would be good. Just so that we can, continue to have a discussion about things that I mean, or additional outreach. Yeah. Any opposition to having that as well? It's very good. Now, looking at those line items, that was just out of the whole categories. Materials.
I would say other supplies,
Oh, okay.
490. It's kind of just a generic catch-all. And then, like I say, and if, we're in there, and if you, so I'm looking at it, if you go buy a tire, we can move the money under the tire line. We don't have to get the board involved in that.
Other thoughts?
I'm curious if the CAC were to say, well, we want to participate in this event. Would it be easy enough to get like a table, for instance, like from the district, like just the basic setup or a tent?
Oh, just to have, well, I mean,
What existing supplies are that you wouldn't have to use that?
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, no, I mean, our tables are, certainly we could do that. Ours aren't necessarily a lightweight plastic. I mean, they're collapsible tables, but they're the wooden top. But they certainly can be made available. We do have, folding chairs. So
you were wondering about that, so well, what about like signage? Would we need to make signage out of that?
Yeah, it seems like that might be.
is CSC, or would it be?
right, because we certainly have, signage and handout, we only have one or two handouts that are specific to the CAC. Our stuff promotes the district. I mean, if you guys are, at farmer's market or whatever, and you're going to have a table, we'll certainly make any of that stuff available to you. But if you want something specific to the CAC, that is something we'd have to have made.
And that was something I was also considering in having that. The supply funding available if we were to print something or produce something for.
See, and then this is where things get blurry. Printing is a service.
Printing is a service. I thought about that.
Right, and and if you want to go, if you want to go buy a shed, that's a supply. If you want to pay somebody to build the shed, that's a service.
Okay.
So,
Hopefully, at least with having the travel and training funding already in a services category. And then for the supply category, we can navigate both.
yeah, and just remember that money's in there. And historically, the CAC has always sent 2 or 3 members to the annual association conference and retreat in October, and so that covers the registration fees and any fuel reimbursement, for those things. And not that you're required or obligated to attend that conference. But that's just historically what that's been in there for, and that's about all that's been used for. And it certainly doesn't take the whole $1,500 to send 3 people to Indianapolis for a couple of days.
yeah, were there any other interests in particular, like educational opportunities that would make the existing funding need adjustment? I haven't proactively sought any out so far, but that's it.
And that's one thing where I say, because we prepare a budget, 8 months in advance. That's where, we do the best that we can and we estimate what we will and won't want to do. And, if in November or December, somebody finds out about some conference going on in July that people want to go to, that's where we go deal with additional appropriation or see if we have, sometimes planned expenses don't happen. Maybe another department's got money they can move.
Yeah, I think that would be sufficient then for at least for me, not having anything in mind right now, but if anybody else had any plans or something else between your last regular meeting and this one that they wanted to invest. Yes. Or any other thoughts or input on this budget adjustments? All right. In that case, hopefully a motion to approve the proposed budget, including the proposed amendment in this meeting, that'd be sufficient for formalizing.
What's on the screen right now, those dollar figures are, that column is actually 2023 budget. There's the middle column there, which is all blank.
Oh, okay.
At the 20, so somebody probably needs to make a motion to request X dollars in this line, X dollars in this line, X dollars in this.
I'm willing to do so.
Make a motion to add line items to the 2024 budget for other supplies, $500 for extra promotional materials as needed, $500 travel, and $1,000 for training and education. That's yours.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a motion, there's a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none and seeing no online, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Right, motion carries. Now our 2024 budget request. Thank you. It's exciting. And from there, we can continue on to our 2023 strategic planning. Again, another carryover item. We kind of have some general questions. Not an awful lot during our last regular meeting, just another opportunity to get that up with those who are not present at the last meeting. To determine what we are going to be doing for 2023. We are now halfway through. So giving a plan for the second half of the year. I think it's still very reasonable. Yeah, kind of started the discussion already, but do they have any particular other thoughts they want to pursue or any further on?
What do we have right now? Like, what can, like, the rest of the year, like,
Honestly,
the roadmap for the rest of it?
so I will use the last ounce of battery that I have to at least show a quick timeline of the budget process, which is the only thing that I have. That's somebody still see me present?
No, I do not show you.
Just leave it.
And then now that you say it, I did notice you disappeared on my computer when you closed.
Okay, yeah, I suspected that might have happened. If it would be possible, do you see me now?
Yeah. Well, I see room 100B again.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
4 to 5 participants.
Okay. See if I can share.
Can you change it back to your,
Oh, right.
no, wait, the other 100B I know which one I need to do because you're muted,
Okay,
they're not.
sure.
Or is it something I can share?
It is not, I did not include it in the packet this month or last month, and it's just a quick, display of the timeline of the, gosh, budget process in the meetings that we have lined up.
Yeah.
So this is the only thing that's planned.
Well, I know it's not specifically on your agenda, but looking at that, this is probably the time. Some consensus on, unless we did it already and I've forgotten, doing the joint meeting on the 13th.
That's right, that was noted at the last regular meeting, but never a strong hold or.
I don't think I have any confirmation from any board members of availability and interest, but it is. Historically, it is something that the board and the CAC have always done, held one of their two required joint meetings to review the budget. It's not a legal requirement, a statutory requirement to do that as a joint meeting. The only legal requirement is for the CAC to meet at least once after the first presentation of the budget to discuss and prepare so you can provide the written requirements on the budget to the board before they vote on it, which is also.
Yeah, it's good. Good thing to start with our 2023 plan is. I know it's kind of a short notice question, but off the top of everyone's heads. Does the 13th, so the 13th is when the budget will be presented to the board. There will be at that board meeting, the formal presentation, and it will be between that time and their I think August meeting, when the vote takes place. That's when CAC needs to meet in that window and prepare a written statement about the budget. So, but town had proposed, what I think is a great idea, would be if possible, just immediately following the board meeting that has the budget presentation, have a joint meeting. So that way it's right after it's presented and everybody watching it presented, and then we can discuss it, which would be on July 13th.
So I will say that at this point, the board July 13th agenda is starting to look heavy.
Okay. I have to hang out for a while. In that case, would it be better to run it by the board first and see what their availability and desire is?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to know, I guess I would ask something from the CAC about, are there enough members willing and able to meet on the 13th? If that's what the board wishes to do.
Okay.
Versus, you know, the other option obviously is the 20th before or after the CAC meeting.
Yeah. Is anybody able to confirm at this point if they would or would not be able to attend?
I know that I would not be able to, will be out of state.
Okay.
Until like
That's not an excuse.
20th.
No, that's.
I can do it.
Okay.
I mean, it's 5:30, 6 o'clock. What do you think? Look right now for the board meeting to end, and when we get the joint meeting started. Okay.
And you say that you would be able to attend virtually if that's what it's.
Yeah, there you go.
Very least, that's still 1, 2, 3, 4 in-person capabilities.
You're at 7 right now, right?
Yes,
Or-
yes, yeah. So that would be possible. The other would be around our regularly scheduled meeting, the 20th following meeting. So does that provide you adequate information? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, the key thing is just we're gonna have, there's a quorum available ruling on the 13th, in board meeting, and that's gonna be. If the boards, I have a quorum of board members agreeing to stay, then we're good to go. Yeah, this will be our third attempt at a joint meeting this year, we haven't had one yet.
Okay, so next step would then be waiting for confirmation from you.
Yeah, I will send an email out, I will pull them tomorrow, which means it might be Monday or Tuesday before I have adequate responses.
Okay, so next up, the 2023 formal planning item that we have for sure. I think we'll need a second joint meeting as well sometime during the year to meet statutory requirements. Beyond any subject to take place at any time. That's another thing I'll need to remind. Apart from that, there is nothing that I am aware of that's still pending for other CAC business. So most of this year has been trying to get those joint meetings for 5-year plan reviews. It's finally happened, well, at least with the CAC forum and the conversation.
Well, I think we had an adequate review and discussion, we just doesn't count for a joint meeting, we just have 4 board members.
Precisely. So having been able to review that, I feel like at this point we're open to essentially anything, and if there is nothing, I think it would be probably prudent to maybe have less frequent meetings if there was no scheduled business for the remainder of the year.
And the one thing I've considered, another organization I've been in had like periodic kind of membership. Members would present an item to educate everyone else on. And there's such a wealth of information and different perspectives. And to make a little bit more use of our time here, that could be helpful. That was one thing I had in mind.
Do you know about how long, maybe you should ask, do you know what the format was like? Like did each member present something and have like a specific time window at a given meeting?
Quite honestly, I didn't get involved.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just thinking if you had a particular
But
format.
no, I think, really whatever the presenter. I mean, just sitting here and bringing up a topic for 5-10 minutes might be useful. Because to me, there's just so many perspectives, like soil and waste, it all goes together, but it's so complex, so.
So I think an educational component.
Right.
Expert.
Yeah, I'm not, the format's not as important. I mean, it's pretty casual. Anyway. What do you guys think?
I know the educational experiences I've had with the Commission on Sustainability have been valuable and definitely taken stuff away, so.
I think that's.
Yeah, we've had guest speakers, but also just whatever the word groups are working on. Things that I definitely did not know.
Yeah.
Found value.
You didn't have guests present remotely as
Yeah.
well, but when actually have to come here and just get someone an agreement to present during our meeting and
Yeah,
put it there, and then we've got it recorded for future reference if we want to go back and, hey, what was it they said about turning the soil? What was it they said about this type of material? So
yeah,
I think it's a very good idea, right?
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would it be reasonable to do it once a month or quarterly? What do you think? Given, because I know you all have schedules like outside of here too. What would be comfortable with people?
To not overwhelm, I think it makes sense to start quarterly and then.
Quarterly.
And then, if people like it and want to do it more, then you can increase the times, but.
What's that?
You're thinking one presentation per quarter then, or like one round where everybody presents something for 5 or 10 minutes? Or everybody volunteers to what you say.
I guess I was thinking, one, outside presentation per quarter, and then whatever passion project you have, if you want to present that for 5 or 10 minutes.
And if,
I mean, like, I really enjoyed starting to cut out the rethinks, Terra.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that, and I'm thinking maybe I want to go see that, because I remember talked about how all the community gardens in the city have backlogs, and have a wait list. So, you know, right, and this is a nonprofit that's not affiliated with the city in Terre Haute that has their own community gardens.
seem like they got a neat deal going on.
Yeah, so I gave value
Yeah.
out of it.
No, I was just gonna say too, that, you know, I mean, I'm not the only staff member. If you guys ever want, you know, Elisa, Joey, Lee, I mean, if you have, you know, or even not somebody that you see or hear about at the board meetings regularly, or if you want our a green business coordinator to come in and talk about what's going on with the green business stuff. If you want to hear from other staff members, just let me know. We can make that happen.
Thank you, Tom. Suggestion. Yeah, I think that's, all good ideas.
I would always think, especially kind of a hot topic right now with Earth Keepers shutting down. Maybe, I don't know if there's an update from anybody that is working to find a replace or.
Sorry. I think I said it at the last board meeting and I didn't say the update here, but excuse me, I am the Sean Mia from the Bloomington's Office of Economic Sustainable Development. Have a meeting next week with a company called Earth Mama Compost. They're out of Indianapolis, but they're up there doing very similar things to what Earth Keeper was doing down here. So not sure if it'll go anywhere, but we're going to meet with them and see if they have any interest in helping us.
I do have a question about that, because the last executive committee, they had suggested that maybe we look into it. The CAC, I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, that's right.
So I got to thinking, and part of our 5-year plan is finding ways to monetize the closed landfill. That's a state there where we could enter or the district could enter a public-private partnership with an organization like that, where they could do the composting or available space in the landfill, so it doesn't have to leave the county.
There are areas out there that would probably be permissible. County zoning, I'd have to look into, but I mean, it's a landfill. I don't know how it would have the proper zoning, but it's Monroe County, you know, who knows? Sorry, whoever. But, you know, yeah, some areas are in floodplain, which and they're state, county are going to automatically, they know that no matter what. But there are areas out there that probably would be appropriate to do such a thing. But not being overly familiar with a composting operation and scale, I don't, you know, what kind of acreage are we talking about, and do we have that much available? That's what I would know, would be able to answer. But it is something that has been brought up before. And the other issue is, just the location. Not the most convenient place to take 5-gallon buckets of food. But if you can get economies of scale and consolidate loads and stuff, then maybe it makes more sense.
I feel like landfill field trip might be a good CAC meeting activity because you remark, maybe realize when I've never been and I don't actually have the foggiest idea where it's located in spite of how much we talked about it. So.
We can make that happen.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's reach out to former earth keepers and family farms and ask them to do 5-10 minute presentation on those logistics that you were just asking about.
I mean, there certainly would be benefit to that, and I've not to put Joe on the spot, he's a little closer to them than I am, I know their world is a mile a minute right now.
Yeah.
And their heads are spinning so many different ways, and I personally wouldn't want to put pressure on them to feel obligated to come do something that they don't necessarily have the time to do right now. That doesn't mean that a few months down the road, maybe that changes.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be worthwhile to give it some time first and also hear about the results of the earth compost exchange. And did you have to mention when that meeting is roughly? Is that this month?
It's next week.
Oh, next week, okay. Our 1 minute shy of our scheduled end time. Obviously, if people are available, there's interest, we can continue discussion on strategic planning. For their presentations, quarterly outside presentations, and then potential membership presentations. Potential staff members from the district. But yeah, the remark about the discussion of pursuing through composting community conversation. Probably a bigger scope of conversation for this particular meeting, but something probably to add to next month's regular meeting agenda. Anyone else have any particular thoughts to cover right now? All right.
I did send out finally the doodle poll for our adopted road. And you'll see the dates in your inbox, but I try to put enough dates.
Thank you for sending that out.
Yeah.
And for the reminders.
Yeah.
All right. I think if there's no objection, that conclude our strategic planning business item, and that is our last item of unfinished business. We have no new business. We're going to public comment. So I don't see anyone present on Zoom. It's kind of tiny, you probably can see everyone. Is there anything else?
I guess there is a name I'm not familiar with. M.A.J. Huber. Would like to comment, please raise your hand and we will give you the ability to do so. I'm seeing nothing.
Right. Yeah. In that case, just reminders that our tentative joint meeting will be July 13th, before its regular meeting. Our next regular meeting will be Thursday, July 20th, 5:30 in the same room. And also we have the county fair, taking place 3rd to the 8th. So for our next regular meeting. So that's it. If there's no objection, this meeting will adjourn. I see none, so we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.